The Chandra lagna. Why is this such an important concept in Vedic astrology? And why is shifting perspectives in a chart so valuable? That's what I'm going to be discussing in my next video, so stay tuned. That's coming up next. Hey everyone, I'm Brian Easterday and welcome back to Eye of the Storm Astrology. So today I'm going to be discussing the Chandra lagna and why shifting perspectives when you're looking at a chart can be such a useful technique. But before I get to that, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any future videos that could be helping you turn your challenges into strengths. So what is the Chandra lagna? Well, first off, for those of you who don't know, in Vedic astrology, we refer to the moon as Chandra. That's the Sanskrit word for it. So, Chandra lagna is usually the word that when you generally hear lagna in Vedic astrology, it's referring to the ascendant, or in Western astrology they call the rising sign. This is a zodiac sign that was rising in the east at the moment of your birth. This becomes your first house. So this becomes an extremely important house. And in Vedic astrology, it is the one we focus on most. So when someone says, oh, I'm this sign, generally, if they're speaking from a Vedic perspective, they're talking about the lagna. They're talking about the ascendant. Whereas in the Western system, they talk about the sun, which is, there's reasons why that's not the most useful thing to do. But that's a different discussion. Now, right behind the lagna or the ascendant, the next most important placement in Vedic astrology is the moon. And the reason why these are of different importance, I'll just go ahead and explain that, is everybody born in the same 30-day period, or in the same sun sign, is born like in the same 30-day period, right? They're all going to have the same sun sign. They're all going to have very different personalities. So it gives you a slice of the personality, but it's quite a broad period of time. The moon, that changes every 2.5 days. So that gives us a narrower window of time. And then the lagna, the ascendant, that changes every 2 hours because you have 12 signs, 24 hours in a day, so you get 2 hours for each ascendant. We also have nakshatras, which break it down, and padas, which break it down into further time periods in that. But just as the general, that's why we put the most focus on the lagna or the ascendant, then the moon, and then the sun. But, using the sun as the main focal point of the chart isn't really that great of an idea. Now that you understand what the lagna is, the Chandra lagna is taking the moon wherever it is the chart and reading the chart as if that is the ascendant. So, for example, say normally you are an Aries ascendant, and you have your moon in Cancer in your 4th house. So from the lagna, you'd be an Aries ascendant. But if you're wanting to read the chart from the Chandra lagna, you read the chart as if that moon is the 1st house. So then you would be reading the chart as if you were a Cancer ascendant. Now, why is this so useful? Well, there's a few different reasons. One, we have to understand what we're doing with astrology in the first place. Many people fail to realize that what we're actually doing with this beautiful science is by looking at the stars, we're looking at the physical manifestation of the mind of the all. And by observing the patterns and the movements of these larger bodies of consciousness, i.e. the constellations, the planets, etc., we're actually observing the thought patterns of the mind of the all. We're watching consciousness as it thinks, as it develops, as it grows, as it evolves. So when we take a birth chart, it's a snapshot of all of that at the moment of our birth, because that is where consciousness was when we came into this reality. So it's the blueprint, it's the seeds of what we grow, of what we're going to grow into. This is why it's so important. Now, within that blueprint, there are different perspectives to read it from. If you're reading it from the lagna, say you're looking at the perspective from the Eastern perspective and looking out throughout the rest of the chart. But say your moon's over here. Well, now all of a sudden you jump to this part of the sky and you're reading the whole chart from that perspective. Why would that be useful? Because the more perspective that you gain on something, the more angles that you're seeing it from and the more awareness you're going to have, because you're understanding it from all of the different angles, from all the different perspectives. Now, why the Chandra lagna is especially useful is because of what the moon is. So the moon is our mind and our emotions. It is the way through which we experience our karmas. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take an example. Say there's two people and they're going through maybe like a difficult situation, or it could be a really good situation. It could be really any type. But one person could say that, in the example of like a bad situation, right, or a difficult one, oh, this really sucks. It's so terrible. The universe is punishing me. Why does everything, like, why does nothing ever go right for me? Yada, 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 right? The whole victimhood mentality. The other person could say, yeah, this is kind of challenging, but I think it's an opportunity. I think this is going to like help me evolve to the next level. Both people are in the same situation, but what is the difference? The difference is the mindset. The difference is the perspective through which they are experiencing this reality. So by looking at the moon, you're never going to go wrong, because you're viewing and reading the chart from the perspective of how that person is experiencing it, especially emotionally, because the moon is our emotions and things. So this is a very useful technique. Say if you don't have someone's exact birth time, one of the things you can do, and you can still get a lot of great information from this, is read the chart from the Chandra lagna. Because you know, if you're within, they at least have their birthday, and say maybe they know, oh, I was in the morning or the evening. As a general rule, you pretty much are going to know what sign the moon is in then still, because it takes 2.5 days for it to change signs. So the nakshatras might not be exactly on point or anything like that, the finer details, but you can take the general perspective of what sign the moon is in, and then read the chart from that, and you'll be able to get a great amount of information from that. And this is something that's always really useful to do in a chart in general, is, study your chart from your lagna, from your ascendant, but then study it from your Chandra lagna. And in Vedic astrology, you can, and this is I'll take this further here. This is a trick that you can apply to any graha, any planet, any sign, any house. If you want to study your 10th house more in depth, make that the ascendant and read the chart. If you want to study Saturn more in depth, make that the ascendant and read the chart. You have a Surya lagna, a Buddha lagna, a Shukra lagna, all of those. So you can take any planet and make it the ascendant and read the chart from there, and it will give you much more detail about that planet and how it is interacting and experiencing the rest of the chart, which is going to give you a lot of insight into yourself. So reading from the Chandra lagna is such a useful trick. And this, again, this is just one of the hundreds of or thousands of reasons that I practice Vedic astrology. And I'm not a Western astrologer. I don't practice Western astrology. They don't have these type of tools and things that we use, or the things that are just standard practice in Vedic astrology. They don't even use that at all. So this is one of them, using the Chandra lagna. And again, you can use this for any other house, any other position in the chart. When I do Aruda lagna consultations, and I'll do a video here soon on what the Aruda lagna is, but when I do consultations looking at that in depth, that's what I do. I make the Aruda lagna ascendant, and then I read the whole chart much more in depth. It gives you so much more information when you can do that, because it allows you to, again, shift that perspective. And the more perspective that we bring to a subject, the more awareness we have, and awareness reveals choice. So then we're giving ourselves the opportunity to have the most choices available to us so we can become the best versions of ourselves. So that's going to wrap this one up, guys. I hope you found it valuable. If you did, please do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any videos that could be helping you turn your challenges into strengths. If you need to contact me for consultations, courses, whatever it may be, you can click the link below in the description. That goes to my link tree, and that is a one-stop shop for my social media, website, all the things you need to do to be able to follow my work or to get a hold of me. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Remember, by creating more awareness, we create more opportunity to be the best version of ourselves. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you guys next time.